again, in the spirit of the fact-checking done, they didn't falsely fact-check her. She's trying to state that President-elect Joe Biden is not President-elect. And in doing so, she is acting in bad faith. They were acting reasonably, logically. Though legally, technically, she is correct. And like, oh, God, I'm just imagining someone hearing me say, legally, technically, she is correct, and be like, that's it. She's correct. End of story. You have nothing else to say. No. Put on your thinking cap, dog. Did you leave it in high school when you graduated? Huh? Has no one ever told you to put your thinking cap on since then? So you have forgotten where you've placed your thinking cap, and therefore rational thought fucking escapes you. Good morning. My name is Lycan, per usual. It is November 30th, last day. Did you make it? Did you successfully achieve no FAP? Let us know in the comments. No, I'm kidding. Don't. You can save that for your own private discussions. But I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. It highlights my day to see those numbers going up and up and up with people in the chat watching. So thank you very much. We are a little more clean cut. Instead of just letting it grow long, I actually have something done to it. So it's not like season. Got some greaser, elephant front going on. The rain didn't help clear that up either. But anyway, we've got a fun little show to go over right now. Candace Owens, the Republican sweetheart, has said some silly things, and we have to talk about it. And we have to learn about it live in real time. We're going to find out, did Candace Owens' fact-checking of the fact-checkers end in a factually accurate interpretation by those who adore her? Because we can't get him off our minds because he's living rent-free in our heads, we're going to be talking about Tim Pool, because it was Tim Pool's subreddit where I found this, because I don't read the Daily Wire. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So Candace Owens. Ow! Fuck! Ah! Well, that was fun. Now I have to verify that the mic is working. Can you guys... Oh, wait, no, that's just my headset. Okay, we're cool. That wasn't the mic. Is the mic still good? Can you guys hear me? The cat almost took my head off when he fell and pulled the headset cord. So, anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Very much appreciated. I am still in the chat. Blah blah ho, blah blah. Cool. With that out of the way, let's jump in. Let's jump in. Give me 1 second. All right. Cool beans. Let's talk about this. So let's go ahead and so this is a Reddit thread I saw, and it was just, Candace Owens challenges the fact checker and wins. And that's an exciting sounding thing, right? Oh God, there's conservative thread on it too. We'll have to look at that. But just right off the bat, before the fact that I see, the fact that it's upvoted obviously means that they believe that this subreddit is a good litmus test for well-rationed interpretations of things from right-leaning people. And so let's talk about this article. Let's go over it. Candace Owens challenges fact checker and wins. Quote from Candace Owens, I believe. I wanted to show that these fact checkers just lie, and they usually go unchecked because most people don't have the money, don't have the time, and don't have the platform to go after them. And I have all three. Now, let's be super clear. We're going to go into this and we're going to see what she talked about. Okay? This is the most tame correction in the history of fact checkers. This isn't walking back an entire narrative, okay? We need to focus on why this fact check isn't a big deal, but why it's being made into a big deal. And the reason it's being made to be a big deal, we can get right at immediately. And that is because these people need the fact checker sites to be wrong. They need their distrust of the fact checker sites to continue in order to believe that the mainstream media is not on their side and a propaganda machine, as Tim Pool will say. So that has to continue. And so the fact that these fact checkers work very hard and do a damn good job almost all of the time to disprove a lot of misinformation and disinformation, that works against their narrative. They need to undermine it. And this gives them that example. But when you look into it like we're about to, you understand, that isn't as big of a deal. So let's talk about it. And we can go into the Project Veritas nonsense as well and talk about that, because they kind of do the same thing with their, what do they call it? Their retraction counter, I think it is. And it's never what you think. So we'll talk about that. Let's go into Candace. So Candace Owens challenges fact checker and wins. Conservative author and commentator Candace Owens challenged left-leaning fact-checking site PolitiFact, a partner with Facebook, over a false rating, and won. First of all, let's talk about why it's saying left-leaning, okay? Does it mean because they fact-check the right more? Does it mean because the right often makes claims more often that need to be fact-checked? That's your interpretation you are open to. I'm going to say it's the latter. The right is making more statements that need to be fact-checked than the left. I don't think they're left-leaning, but this spin right here implies that their fact-checking is just to take a right-leaning position and skew it to incorrect for those on the left. That's a crock of shit. Not only did PolitiFact remove their false rating and retract an article on why Owens' video was allegedly false, but the site offered an added correction admitting their fault. Owens' video, which was posted on November 12th, offered commentary on the 2020 presidential election and was captioned, "Joe Biden is literally and legally not the president-elect. So why is the media pretending he is?" The video was hit with a false rating, and, as noted by Owens, theoretically, every single person who shared the post was alerted by Facebook that they had shared false content. Weeks ago, Facebook centered a post of mine which truthfully stated that Joe Biden is not the president-elect. So I got lawyers involved, she said Saturday via Twitter. Conclusion, PolitiFact uncensored the post and admitted that they lied by rating my post false. The fact checkers are lying for Democrats. Now, let's talk about this first, because I didn't know this. PolitiFact is apparently partnered with Facebook to do the fact checking for them, right? So that's what they're talking about with the partnership. PolitiFact works with Facebook so that when claims are made that are false, they say, hey, actually, I'm sorry, when someone makes a claim, PolitiFact makes sure that it is not false, and then if it is, it'll get tagged, or if it's misleading, or if it's not showing all information, it'll get tagged. So basically what is being said now is that Candace Owens was fact-checked by PolitiFact on Facebook, was censored with a little notification that said this is not true. I'm sorry, I don't know if it was censored. I think it was just fact-checked. But it had the little tag under it, like we've seen a lot on Twitter over the last couple weeks. And so she didn't like the fact that they had fact-checked it. So let's see what the note from PolitiFact says. Correction, PolitiFact originally labeled this video false in our capacity as a third-party fact-checker for Facebook. On November 20th, an appeal to that decision was made on behalf of Ms. Owens. PolitiFact approved the appeal on November 20th, determined that a correction was appropriate, and removed the false rating. I think this is from Candace. At 8 months pregnant, I unfortunately cannot fight on the ground alongside patriots like I am used to, but I am taking every measure to fight these communists in the courtroom, Owens said in a follow-up post. It is my goal to expose these lying fact checkers one by one. Joe Biden is not the president-elect. Now, let's talk about the substance of what she just said there. Not on the ground, but I am fighting these communists in the courtroom. Okay. Her pushback was that her video saying that Joe Biden was not the president-elect and that the media can't deem him so is not the same as fighting against communism or any kind of wicked, evil socialism that she's trying to imply, okay? PolitiFact made the correction because technically she is right. The media doesn't certify the election. Elections get certified by states, and then once those are all certified, Joe Biden is the president-elect. But like we've talked about before, we have always made these assumptions based on the vote count that gets reported. We have never had an election where there was no question or anything. So we're not talking about 2000. We're not talking about now. There's never been an election where some magic amount of votes came out of nowhere and the person suddenly that we assumed to be president-elect was no longer assumed president-elect. There's always been certification after, but there's always been the presumptive nominee and treating that person as the president-elect based on what gets reported, usually on election night, sometimes, like in this case, days after, right? But it's completely disingenuous to in any way imply that what she just did was some crusade against communism, was some crusade against the media oligarchy, tearing down the legitimate idea of truth and gaslighting an entire people. That's not happening here, but that's what she is saying. So for those playing at home who like Candace Owens and agree with this article when they saw that, I am challenging you to step back for a minute and realize the absurdity here, okay? Of course they're going to correct it because they marked something false that is in bad faith for her to correct because she knows what they mean. President-elect Joe Biden is the reality. Period. End of story. There is nothing substantiated or even remotely reasonable that has been presented in the last almost 4 weeks since the election for us to even consider that to not be the reality. So for her to do this is bullshit. And the only reason they accepted it is because technically she is correct. But in the spirit of what we all assume the president-elect to be and the way our elections have always worked, she's full of shit. Here's the Twitter post. Weeks ago, Facebook sent out a post of mine which truthfully stated that Joe Biden is not the president-elect, so I got lawyers involved. Conclusion, PolitiFact uncensored the post. So this goes back to where we said these people need the fact-checking sites to be wrong. This is exactly what we're talking about. She's now using this correction, which is all based on a technicality and not some supreme overturning of public gaslighting. She's now turning it into that crusade that she wants it to be. And now people have the ammunition to say, ha, Candace got him. And they're going to be talking about it a year from now. Like, remember that time, Candace Owens? I'm going to talk to someone. I'm going to point out what a shitty bad faith actor she is. And they'll be like, yeah, but the, PolitiFact, they were trying to hold her down and she went and she fought for him. And I'm like, that's not a good example. This is complete and utter bullshit. Like, selecting this as any type of major victory is fucking asinine. But the language from PolitiFact's note perhaps downplays what really happened. The Blexit founder told the Daily Wire on Saturday that she reached out to PolitiFact on November 20th with legal representation and immediately heard back. Of course, major conservative figure, legal team, why wouldn't they respond? Heard back with PolitiFact admitting their error. Language from a lawyer at PolitiFact, according to Owens, reads as follows. Upon first glance, this video from Miss Owens was labeled false from PolitiFact in error. We already have removed the label from the video, and you should now be able to see it unobstructed. As we're about 25 minutes into this, we still don't know how or why the post was labeled false. We are investigating and hope to share more information with you formally on Monday. I am reading chat, by the way, guys. I just I'm slow to do it when we're going through like the initial stuff. Owen said she was not further briefed on the supposed error. Did I say briefed? Owen said she was not further briefed on the supposed error, and that she felt the retraction wasn't enough. She wanted PolitiFact to admit publicly that they falsely fact-checked her. Again, in the spirit of the fact-checking done, they didn't falsely fact-check her. She's trying to state that President-elect Joe Biden is not President-elect, and in doing so, she is acting in bad faith. They were acting reasonably, logically. Though legally, technically, she is correct. And like, oh God, I'm just imagining someone hearing me say legally, technically, she is correct, and be like, that's it. She's correct. End of story. You have nothing else to say. No. Put on your thinking cap, dog. Did you leave it in high school when you graduated? Huh? Has no one ever told you to put your thinking cap on since then? So you've forgotten where you've placed your thinking cap, and therefore rational thought fucking escapes you. You left it in your locker with all your other garbage and bullshit. You bet you were the type that had a locker stacked up to fucking neck with bullshit and garbage and uneaten sandwiches. I'm projecting. I wanted to show that these fact checkers just lie, and they usually go unchecked because most people don't have the money, don't have the time, and don't have the platform to go after them. And I have all three, she said. That's complete bullshit because I don't have the fucking time to fact check all this stupid shit, and yet I do it here as a hobby. These fact check sites are far from not getting fact checked. There are tons of people that are just would love to be the ones making content surrounding, showing how fucked up PolitiFact, factcheck.org, or whatever it is, USA Today, and any other site that engages in fact checking, they want to prove them wrong. There are tons of people doing this. Candace didn't step out of wherever the fuck she's sitting right now to bravely take down the fact checkers. She got them on a technicality. With pressure from Owens' legal representation, it's weird how people respond to that, by the way, PolitiFact issued the correction, which she shared with the public on Saturday. That was a win. And another major win, she said, was PolitiFact essentially admitting that Joe Biden is not the president-elect. That's not what PolitiFact was admitting, but again, let's ignore the spirit of the argument for, technical bullshit. Owens, who's currently suing fact checkers from USA Today and Lead Stories, explained to the Daily Wire that she knew she had reached out with legal representation. She knew that she had to reach out with legal representation if she wanted to get results with the latest false fact check. Yes, because if as an individual you reached out, they'd either issue the same correction, be if you have enough political clout, or they would just say, no, technically, like, he is going to be the president-elect, and the spirit of your video was wrong and misleading. She said that in her experience, when she's tried to appeal fact checks through the system, she's been stonewalled. I wonder how much she's been stonewalled versus how much she's been told, you're wrong, but we're not going to deal with you. These people are sitting back thinking they're gods of tech. Opinion checkers, they're considered lords, the conservative said. I really never had that experience with fact checkers. The only people that seem to be getting really upset with fact checkers are those being fact checked or who's having their worldview challenged by fact checkers. It was that past treatment. By the way, let's stop for a second and say that if you show me a fact checker fucking up, I will absolutely want to hold them to account. The problem is that the times that fact checkers have actually fucked up and done it in bad faith, I can't count. I don't know of any story. I imagine it would be very blown up. I used to be big in these conservative circles. I don't remember really hearing too much of it. It was that past treatment by fact checkers that sparked Owens' suit, which was announced earlier this month. She has launched her own legal website to raise funds for the pricey battle. The suit seems to have numerous goals, including an effort to disincentivize single narrative fact checking. See, again, they're only upset that their narrative is being fact checked. That's why it's left-leaning. I want to make sure there's no incentive for PolitiFact, USA Today, Lead Stories to sign on to be fact-checkers, she said. I want to show that they can get sued and lose money. So what is the point of them taking on that liability on behalf of Facebook? At the same time, Facebook is distancing themselves from fact-checkers, Owens continued. We went after Facebook and sent them a letter, and they said, we have nothing to do with the fact checkers. So if Facebook isn't coming to their aid and they're being sued by individuals, there will be no upside. That's sort of the corner we're trying to pinch them into. I'm sorry, I need to read that again because my mind cannot process that level of what the fuck. At the same time, Facebook is distancing themselves from fact checkers, Owens continued. We went after Facebook and sent them a letter. They said, we have nothing to do with fact checkers. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like, let's put on our logic cap for a second. That sounds like Facebook is saying, hey, we don't fucking do the fact checking. We hire them to do the fact checking. So if you have a problem with the fact check, go to them. It seems distancing in the sense that it's like, be gone, you shitty person, and fight someone else. We don't want to deal with it. It doesn't seem like any sort of admission of, well, we're distancing ourselves from them. We don't want to be involved. So if Facebook isn't coming to their aid, why would they? And they're being sued by individuals, there will be no upside. So what? Like, she's trying to get these fact checkers to do what? What is she trying to accomplish? What is the alternative of the narrative, huh? Because they admitted she was right on a technicality. The end. What more does she want? I would love to see the presentation of an article where someone says there's an alternative side to this, right? Because they do a pretty decent job. I think PolitiFact's the one that does like the pants on fire, false, whatever. Like, they do a degree of lying. They measure it to some subjective way. But still, I want to see an article these people are talking about. So if you are watching this, leave in the comments, instead of saying that I'm brain dead liberal, leave in the comments an example of an article where there is an alternative side to be presented, where the fact checking doesn't do the full circle, doesn't get every angle that's necessary. Owens wants the censorship stopped for the millions of Americans sharing opinions or information against the one accepted narrative from the left. Except when we're talking about things like this election, there's only one objectively true narrative. That's the problem. That narrative is being spoken against with falsehoods and misinformation and disinformation and just people that are too invested in the idea that Donald Trump could maybe steal this election to consider that it's election theft and it's an attempt to undermine our functioning system of government. If she wins her legal case, she said, she could set the precedent for a massive class action lawsuit against Facebook from others who've allegedly been censored. As announced on election night, Owens is joining the Daily Wire and has a new show in the works set to debut in 2021. The Daily Wire is one of America's... Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Fuck. Yes, no, PolitiFact does check Democrats. Like, PolitiFact doesn't just check that this narrative. Again, we go back to what we said at the start of the stream. Is PolitiFact checking the narrative, or is PolitiFact checking just conservatives? My belief is that PolitiFact and these other sites just happen to get more ammunition to fact check from conservatives. It's a little weird, isn't it? Instead of, here's a very, I say this in good faith and with honest intentions. Think for a second. Is the media working against you, or is it more likely that the conservative side of media is spinning things, and that maybe the things that you buy on a daily basis are being sold to you with deception, misinformation, spin, whatever it might be? That is very possible. And the best thing that you can do, because you can still come out the other end believing the exact same stuff, but it might be good to take a moment, take some time, and challenge your views. Consider that the opposition, the fact-checking, whatever, that it might be true. Process that and take yourself on a mental journey. And again, you can always stay the way you are, but maybe perhaps you might have a different perspective coming out the other side. Okay, we can all chat now. We're gonna go over now the subreddits and see what they thought about this. What is my bent? Surfer Girl Philly asks. Oh, real quick, Cheeto El Rey, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Subbing with that Prime. That's booze money and or money for my editor. My bent, I'd say that I'm a left, I'm a liberal progressive with a penchant for a conservative approach, meaning that I think that, you know, we should temper our emotions and our actions should be well measured, but I'm for a significant amount of progressive policy changes and liberal ideals. Does that answer your question? Oh, the YouTube viewership's going up. I apologize, guys. I don't get to see you guys in the chat that often just because of the way all this works. Let me see if I can open up that chat app. Cool. No, I haven't done any Ben Shapiro reviews. I've done Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, but again, we're just getting started. I've done a few Tim Pool. Tim Pool is one of my favorites to to go over. And I am reading Bosch's chat, by the way. I hope he's okay with that. I know that Steven's chat, RTBA likes to keep it Steven's chat, which is good. But I am reading you guys too. Right. So let's look at the subreddits now. So this is Tim Pool's subreddit. Great to hear she won, but it isn't a surprise they lie, especially about this. It amazes me how liberals actually think he's the president-elect right now. Yikes. Again, we are operating in the world that we have existed in for a while. And it's not a world of falsehoods. It's a world of reality where the president-elect is assumed based on the final counts, because there's never been a trove of 10 to 100,000 ballots that come out and save a state for a presidential candidate. It doesn't happen. But again, we've already talked. Why go into it again? We've already rehashed. If you want to look at it, there's a video like 3 videos ago where I go over this deep fraud checklist. You can check that out, and we can talk about all your conspiracy theories again and again. Leave a comment. Come in, join my Discord. It's in my info section. You can come on stream. We can chat about it. I will schedule a time just for you. Thank you, Activel. I don't know why, but I appreciate the compliment. So, let's see. What else did these people have to say? Pretty ridiculous how he set up the office of the president-elect, but he isn't the president-elect yet. Again, the only thing different is that conservatives are having this big conspiracy theory meltdown and challenging the idea that he's president-elect on no substantiated grounds. But everyone else sets up the office of the president-elect. Donald Trump did it. Obama did it. I don't know if Bush did it. I was a little young when he had his first election. But this seems to be a common thing. President Trump was referred to as the president-elect. I can tell by downvotes in the subreddit how much a person is pushing against the grain. President Trump was referred to as the president-elect long before the electors officially voted for him in December 2016. People recognizing Biden as president-elect in November 2020 is no different than people recognizing Trump as president-elect in November 2016. Clinton conceded, making it clear Trump is contesting. That's the difference. The real difference is that Trump is not contesting on any reasonable grounds. It's not really meaningful difference unless there's a real chance for the contested election to come out the other way. We haven't seen any evidence to suggest that would happen, and every indication is that the court cases aren't going anywhere for Trump. Unless some real evidence is presented in court, no one is going to stop referring to Biden as president-elect. The upvoted comments. They're going to the Supreme Court, and that's where we'll find out if he's successful or not. It's not likely, but the reality is Biden is not president-elect until Trump either concedes or exhausts all of his legal avenues, none of which has happened yet. For all the reasonable people in the world, his ridiculous challenges don't change the reality of the situation. And it doesn't change the relationship between the American public and the presumptive presidential nominee, which has always been the case until certification. Regardless, mainstream media will still continue to refer to Biden as president-elect. Of course they will, because he is the president-elect, even though certification hasn't finished, because that's always the way it's been. Apologies that our media doesn't change its entire narrative and the structure from which it derives truth and reality and distributes it to you based on your baseless conspiracy theories. Really fucking sorry. I know that's a horrible world to live in. So again, we see the problem with the responses in the subreddit. Now, Tim Pool's subreddit isn't a monolith. But what we talked about before we dove into here is that people want the narrative of the issue of fact checkers to be so controversial. They want there to be a reality where the fact checkers are lying to you. And the reason they want that is because it allows them to continue to live in their false reality. But let's check out the greater conservative people of Reddit. Sorry, I didn't hesitate on people because I was going to make a shitty joke. I hesitated because I didn't know what to say about the Reddit population. Just want to make that clear. I don't hate conservatives. Oh, we've got a lot of chat. Before we jump into that. I'd say I'm a liberal. I'm definitely not a leftist. Oh, you must have missed it, server. I did answer your question earlier. I am a liberal. Yeah, not a problem, buddy. Okay. Let's talk about this now. Let's see. Tired of reporting this thread? Debate us on Discord instead. Oh, man. Oh, so I see a lot of posts in other subreddits of people getting banned from here. And actually, I wonder if I'm banned from here. No, I'm not. I can comment. But I have been downvoted to shit. This subreddit is for conservatives to discuss conservative issues with fellow conservatives. /r/conservative is strictly moderated. Please read and familiarize yourself with the mission and rules in the sidebar and the posting guide linked at the top of the page before participating in the subreddit. Now, there are plenty of subreddits, from really innocuous shit to serious stuff like politics, where people don't want any alternative opinions. There are a lot of things in the cooking subreddit that will get you downvoted, right? There's a lot of subreddit drama links that end up in cooking or food because people have disagreements on, the very heated topics of things like, what is a proper English breakfast? But this place seems to be, it bothers me when something as serious as politics is turned into an echo chamber. And that's basically what this says to me right here. It's for conservatives to discuss conservative issues with fellow conservatives. We don't want any of your dirty liberal dissent brought to our world. So let's see. Fact checkers hate nothing in the world more than facts. Again, we're really stretching the definition of fact checking, or the issue of fact checking in this one. Even Snapple. I've never fact checked Snapple facts. I wonder how accurate they are. Oh. Did Joe Biden really say truth over facts? Excuse me 1 second. Apologies. That was a spam call about my vehicle's warranty. So he's not president-elect because the electors haven't voted yet, right? Trump was called the president-elect prior to the electors meeting, though. I guess you could say it was because Clinton conceded, but that has no legal implication. But if someone had said that Trump legally was not president-elect at that point in time, he would not have been censored. You raise a good point, and I do think the fact checkers were in the wrong in this case, and it's good they made a correction. However, I think the people who were saying Trump wasn't the president-elect were far and few between in 2016 compared to now. It wouldn't have made sense to fact check statements that were so infrequent and viewed by so few. Man, that's a good fucking bit of reasoning right there. Like, so the dude comes in and says, if we somehow said that Trump legally was not president-elect at that point in time, he would not have been censored. Like, yeah, probably not. But why is it? Is it because of liberal bias? Or is it because, as this assumed conservative comes in and says, it would have been because it was so infrequent, it would have not been worth the time. Or so I like that. I like that little bit of, it's nice to come here and see, not complete circle jerk. In a world filled with AOCs and Cardi B's, be like Owens. I don't really follow these Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens type of people, but looking through her Twitter, I can see why people hate her so much. LOL. She doesn't miss, and most of her statements are pretty sensible. Oh, lordy. Let's go to Candace Owens' Twitter. I unfollowed her a while ago because I couldn't stand that shit. Taco, the last time you were up here, you took me out. Let's see what Candace says. Thorough article. We just read that article, by the way. That wasn't a thorough article. I mean, it thoroughly expanded onto into the situation, and for anyone with some common sense, doesn't see it as the slam dunk as she thinks it is. But I mean, thorough was like the New York Times going into Trump's taxes. This was a concise expansion into the issue, I guess. Tom McCurdy is my lawyer. I confided in him yesterday that I was deadly serious about going after both Facebook and Twitter. And if we have to swim through an alligator moat of fact checkers first, so be it. Stop lying about this election. Stop lying about COVID. Stop censorship. Now, I am all for crowdfunding a lot of things. I'm for crowdfunding from celebrities and rich people who want to take money and go after our project. But there's part of me that wants to say, maybe don't fundraise for this. Maybe put your money on the line if you really think you have a legitimate case. When you put other people's money on the line to get support to be able to fight this, I get that they have big legal teams and that they can fight you really hard because they have a lot of money and a lot of good lawyers. But, however, I think that when you choose to do it with other people's money, you are working with you don't have to be as convicted about what you're doing. You don't have to ardently fight like you do when you're putting your own money on the line, when it's hurting you, when you have personal risk invested in the fight. It makes it easier for me to think maybe this is a little more for show, and you know that you don't have some great grand platform to stand on and fight against these fact checkers because the fact checkers aren't doing anything wrong. All right. What else is just rate my post false. They authored an entire article along with it explaining let's look this up. Let's look at this. This is very interesting. Now, of course, we can get real pissy and pedantic about it and say that it doesn't count. But here is Candace Owens' scorecard on PolitiFact. 100% false. Four fact checks. She's only been fact checked 4 times, but they're all false. And so wait, hold on. We should have done this in the beginning. Let's go ahead and see what the full article says. Is it not here anymore? It was PolitiFact, right? According to its website, June, May, April. Hold on. Maybe it doesn't get fact-checked here. It just got fact-checked on Facebook. So I see that like the screenshot of it, but is there not even an article about it? Yeah, it might just be on the yeah, it's on Facebook. Yeah, so it looks like that correction is is everything we've okay. So there is no article for the PolitiFact thing. It was just done on Facebook, which is fine. I was just curious to see if there was more to it, because I believe that if there were an article, we could go into it and probably see the that there was really, again, no issue with the fact checking done. But regardless, what else is on her Twitter? All right, she's tweeting a lot about all this shit. But we're all in this together. The richer are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, the governments are becoming fully tyrannical, socialism unleashed. What? Friend got a taxi to work today. Driver broke down over latest lockdown. Yesterday worked 14 hours for $15 this week, blah, blah, blah. Anecdotal Andy. And then Candace jumps in with her massive political platform to reach, what? Probably 100,000 people or so. Yeah. I mean, with that kind of engagement, yeah, this had to have reached a shit ton of people. But again, it's an anecdote. It's an anecdote being turned into something it doesn't really need to be turned into. Because I remember the right tearing up AOC for making some anecdote about someone walking into her office, and just what he said sounded so politically contrived and to the point that it sounded like bullshit. And I remember the right going apeshit over that. And I'm pretty sure Candace Owens might have even been the one to retweet it and said, yeah, sure, that happened. So it's just funny when they rely on those anecdotes when they support them. Wow, can't imagine getting... All right, Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president. After around 1912, the Republican and Democrat flip-flopped ideologies. But in his time, the party philosophies were opposite than they are today. That's a little inaccurate, because there was a lot of... they didn't flip-flop. They flip-flopped closer to the civil rights era, when there was some flip-flopping going on, especially when it came to like their views towards corporations and trust busting and all that. But flip-flopped in this way is not totally accurate. But let's see what Candace has to say. Wow, can't imagine getting to your age and believing that Democrats and Republicans woke up one day and decided to flip-flop ideologies. Like, hey, I know we literally just fought a civil war over our ideas, but what if we just say flip-flop? Okay, both are stupid. Wish I could send Donald Trump Jr. a general and get well soon message, but like millions of other Americans, he's perfectly healthy with absolutely no symptoms despite a test telling him that he's sick. I'm sorry. Fucking what? So this one got 103,000 likes. Wish I could send Donald Trump a genuine get well soon message, but like millions of other Americans, he's perfectly healthy with absolutely no symptoms despite a test telling him that he's sick. What the fuck is she talking about? This is November. Trump had COVID in October. Am I missing something? Did he get sick again? Did he get diagnosed again? What is this about? In any case, that motherfucker was not well. You saw him the day he forced himself to come back to the office and stood on those steps and huffed and puffed. He got sent to the hospital really fast. This wasn't just a case of, oh, we're giving him the best treatment possible just because he's the president of the United States. He needed that treatment. They might have done this regardless, but it looked like he went downhill fast. Because it went from just weathering the storm to fucking what? This? I don't think she understands what asymptomatic means. But even then, I still don't understand what the fuck they're talking about, because I don't remember them getting like a second fucking positive test. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them, Democrats, would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other, Republicans, would accept war rather than let it perish, and the war came. Abraham Lincoln, like, these are so misleading. It's like, you can point to the civil rights era, and you can say the Democrats were fuckers, because they absolutely were. One of the stains on the Democratic Party is how long it took them to come around to civil rights. But they forget the part where after the Democrats did come around, the conservatives in turn adopted the Southern strategy and pandered to the racist South in order to succeed in presidential elections. That part doesn't get any analysis. Lincoln probably would be a Democrat today. The far-left Prime Minister of Finland has expressed concerns that further lockdowns and restrictions may inspire a worldwide populist backlash. She is absolutely correct. COVID-19 84 is about to meet America 1776. Hold the line. Holy shit. Cool. All right, we don't need to read any more for bullshit. So I don't really follow the Biden blah blah blah, but I can see why people hate her so much. She doesn't miss. There are plenty of misses, and we were like 3 scrolls down. This is really stupid. I need hey, if you guys have things you want to submit, you can go to my Discord. If you do !call in the chat. Well, the command's not working, but that should have brought up my Discord. My Discord's in the bottom, and you can in the bottom of my about section, you can check it out. You can go in there and you can throw videos that you would like us to go over on this stream, because they're plenty worth it. Big yikes, Frankie. Nothing funnier than right-wing intellectuals being held to any intellectual standard. Yeah, they like to really just rail against people who go against the narrative, or their idea, right? So intellectualism that is of the Ben Shapiro flavor, which is still riddled with delusions and denials of reality. That's the type of intellectualism. So if you can speak intelligently, you can make good points that have, logical, if still based on falsehoods, premises. Yeah, sure. The right doesn't mind intellectuals, but when it comes to anyone that actually wants to dissect it and go any further than what makes their viewpoint feel solid, yeah. God, I love her. This woman represents everything I love about America, and I truly hope that one day she runs for president. Oh man, mainstream media would flip their shit. A black woman running for the Republican Party would just shatter them. No. A bad faith, anti-intellectual idiot running for Congress would be the dream for mainstream media that is so biased that they want the left to come out in force and work against that person. The idea of Candace Owens running for president. Hey, you know what? I can't say anything, because if Trump won, Candace may very well win. Maybe. I don't know. A correction and retraction is not an apology. What? How are you criticizing them for correcting their result that for all intents and purposes was correct anyway? That's exactly what a fact checker should do. Own up to their mistakes and be extra careful next time. Some news sources double down on misinformation when contested. I would love to know what news sources are doubling down on misinformation or on information when corrected. These places have entire sections of their websites dedicated to showing all the retractions and corrections and whatever else they make. Oh my God. Never heard of her before. I'm center left and more than anything, but been reading subreddits like this to get both sides. Actually really impressed with her and a huge fan. Between her and Wikipedia founders both coming out and saying Wiki is now not neutral and completely biased by the left wing, things are looking better but still trash. Let's Wikipedia admitting to being left biased. Oh, it's a Breitbart article. Wikipedia co-founder cites neutrality is dead thanks to leftist bias. Larry Sanger, the co-founder of Wikipedia, published a blog post this month declaring that the online encyclopedia's neutral point of view policy is dead due to the rampant left-wing bias of the site. Noting the article on President Donald Trump, Sanger contrasted its extensive coverage of presidential scandals with the largely scandal-free article on former President Barack Obama. Sanger also criticized Wikipedia's coverage of religion and other controversial topics. After Fox News reported on his blog post, many Wikipedians ignored the bias Sanger identified and instead responded by attacking the conservative outlet as well as Sanger. On May 14th, Sanger published a blog piece titled "Wikipedia is Badly Biased" and started by declaring Wikipedia's neutral point of view policy dead. Having founded the online encyclopedia with Jimmy Wales and having been involved in the original drafting of the policy, Sanger offered particular insight into its development and its practice in recent years on the current policy's rejection of providing equal validity to different views. Sanger stated this went directly against the original policy's intent, and that as journalists turn to opinion and activism, Wikipedia now touts controversial points of view on politics, religion, and science. Full story here. What? Is he even involved with it anymore? I'm getting a no longer involved with the project vibe from Larry Sanger. Not familiar with Larry Sanger either. But I have a feeling that he is making political commentary. What's up, Ahsoka? That he's making political commentary. By the way, this is really gross, but can you hear when I swish my spit around? I'm trying to keep like when I'm getting excited, I'm salivating a lot, and I'm trying to like hold it in and not drool on myself or my microphone. Larry Sanger is an American internet project developer and co-founder of the internet encyclopedia Wikipedia, for which he coined the name and wrote much of its original governing policies. Sanger has worked on other line education websites such as Newpedia, Citizendium, and Everapedia. Hey, he taught at Ohio State. So he is in a relationship with Wikipedia. In 2002, Sanger has been critical of Wikipedia's accuracy since 2002. In December 2004, he wrote an article for the website Curation, in which he stated Wikipedia is not perceived as credible among librarians, teachers, and academics because it does not have a formal review process and is anti-elitist. Shortly after the launch of Citizendium, Sanger again criticized Wikipedia. Weird. He creates another website and then criticizes the other one that's the big competitor, stating it was broken beyond repair and had a range of problems, from serious management problems to an often dysfunctional community to frequently unreliable content and to a whole series of scandals. In September 2009, Sanger said he distanced himself from Wikipedia partly because I thought that the project would never have the amount of credibility it could have had were it not some more open and welcoming to experts. The other problem was that the community had essentially been taken over by trolls to a great extent. That was a problem, and Jimmy Wales absolutely refused to do anything about it. Wales responded by stating, I think very highly of Larry Sanger, and I think it is unfortunate that this silly debate has tended to overshadow his work. In 2015 interview by Zach Schwartz for Vice, Sanger said, I think Wikipedia never solved the problem of how to organize itself in a way that didn't lead to mob rule. And that since he left the project, people that I would say are trolls sort of took over. The inmates started running the asylum. In 2010, Sanger sent a letter to FBI about his concern that Wikimedia Commons was hosting child pornography, and later clarified the object of his concern was obscene visual representations of the abuse of children. Sanger said that he felt it was his civic duty to report the images. In 2012, Sanger told FoxNews.com he worked with NetSpark to get them to donate to heavily discount its pornographic image filtering technology for use on Wikipedia. NetSpark attempted to contact Wikimedia Foundation in 2012 but received no response. Critics accused Sanger of having an ulterior motive for reporting the images, noting he was still in charge of the failing Citizendium project and saying publicizing the accusations was unnecessary. In a blog post in May 2020, Sanger reiterated his criticism of Wikipedia, this time describing the website as badly biased. See ideological bias on Wikipedia, and slated that's actually in the post, and stated that he believed it no longer longer had an effective neutrality policy. In his opinion, portions of the Donald Trump article are unrelentingly negative, while the Barack Obama article completely fails to mention many well-known scandals and other topics he believes are presented with liberal bias. Okay, so all of that to say, Larry Wenger obviously has an axe to grind with the company. The Breitbart article uses a very old image of Mr. Sanger to make him look real nice as they tear apart Wikipedia for its bias. But the only bias I see in the idea of Wikipedia is that maybe people were a little more motivated to post about Donald Trump, or maybe that Donald Trump has done some way worse shit than Barack Obama when it comes to a lot of his behavior as president. Now, that is not me defending all the bad that Obama did, but I've seen the Obama page. There are plenty of scandals talked about. I would like to know what isn't there. And if he goes and edits it, is it going to get removed? There's no substantive claim beyond there's just no bias. All he's saying is that look at Donald Trump's, look at Barack Obama's, way more on Donald Trump. It seems that there's a bias. No. And Wikipedia is an incredibly reliable source. Is it an acceptable source? No, because people can go in and edit it, which is why you use it as a vaulting point and then go point by point with the sources that are cited. But otherwise, Wikipedia is a perfectly great resource. It's a tremendous bit of our online society that is something to be really admired and appreciated. And to the degree with which he's saying that they are biased and unreliable and all these other things, complete and utter bullshit. I want to know. Wait. I'm sorry. So this person is saying that both founders, Wikipedia founders, Jimmy Wales. I'm not seeing anything about. I'm not seeing about Jimmy Wales saying. Sanger seems to be the only one saying that. Yeah, no. I believe Blotto that Trump had way more. But goddamn, dude. Fact checker lying about facts. Real shocker there. Technically correct, but for all intents and purposes, he is the president-elect. Thank you, buddy. And look at that. Motherfucker got 52 upvotes. Man, hello. Well, we know the true truth seekers in Tim Pool subreddit. They know that all media is biased. And obviously, this guy has consumed a little too much mainstream media. At least he's in the conservative subreddit. But at the same time, his views are a little wrong. All intents and purposes, he is the president-elect. No, technically is the only correct. I told you there would be someone like this. Someone that comes out and says, nope, once you say technically correct, there's no further response. He isn't the president-elect yet. Pretending like he is dishonest and manipulative. Just about every president except Bush has gone by president-elect after Election Day. This fact check isn't a lie. It's semantics. Oh, my God. Yes. It is dishonest and manipulative, especially so with all this possible election fraud going on with Dominion Systems. What fraud? Please cite the source. Oh my God. Oh, our conservative. How'd you get so based? Oh my goodness. I walked into the basement of our conservative. Why does it look so nice here? I don't know. There's some shit in the corner, but whatever. There's some nice places too. Good place to sit. Like on 12H_bottle throttle's lap, where he says just about every president except Bush has gone by president-elect after Election Day. This fact check isn't a lie. It's semantics. Yes. This is a thread within the thread. Sans malarkey. People are shutting that malarkey down. Thank goodness we have people like Owens fighting free speech on social platforms. The citizens on the left might not realize it, but people like her are fighting for all Americans to prevent a Ministry of Truth 1984 type dystopia in the country we love. This is the kind of person that falls for her COVID-1984 rhetoric. God bless America. I want to know how much pregnant Candace Owens is avoiding people because COVID is a risk to her pregnancy. Let me make sure real quick. Is COVID a risk to pregnant people? Based on what we know at this time, this is from the CDC, which people in a certain place of the internet and the world will not buy unless it gives them a reason to ignore COVID. Based on what we know at this time, pregnant people might be at an increased risk for severe illness from COVID-19 compared to non-pregnant people. Additionally, pregnant people from COVID-19 may be at an increased risk for other adverse outcomes such as preterm birth. Cool. That's awful. And I wonder if Candace Owens is in any way secretly living her life with concerns for that, because she's going to be a mother. She's 8 months pregnant. I want to know, is she wearing a mask? Is she socially distancing? Or is she living by this COVID 1984 bullshit? Blah blah. What was that? What was that long no for? What's up, Lynnie? I tell you what, I was one of those shithead students that didn't read all my books, and I wish I had. My English teacher in high school once said, "Read Catcher in the Rye now," which we were supposed to have for school, but I just read the Cliff Notes. Read Catcher in the Rye now. And then 10 years from now, I want you to read it again. And the idea was that life experience would change the way the view seemed to you. And now that I have lived this long, I'm in my 30s, I wish I had read it back then so that I could fully understand that. Because if I read it now, I feel I would miss out. But I was that student that read the Cliff Notes, and I regret it. My love for reading has grown tremendously in the last 4 years. I've become a very avid reader. But I feel I missed out by not doing it back then. Oh, yeah. I got you, Blotto. Well, I mean, as someone who was raised by a family of rabid conservatives, I will say there is hope, and that you can be a conservative and be a good person and operate with a sense of logic and compassion and empathy. Like it doesn't have to be this political what the fuck moment for anyone that isn't conservative. But I will say that you can go from conservative to whatever. It's just your parents have a huge impact on your political views. I don't get this. This was November 20th. Didn't the election count end? So technically wasn't the race called for Biden? Or is she still saying that the election can be challenged, so technically they can't call it for Biden? He isn't legally the president-elect until the Electoral College meets and votes for him. From then until Inauguration Day, Biden will be the president-elect. However, news organizations have been calling for whoever is the apparent winner of the president-elect. As far as I can remember, this article is playing this up as some kind of huge victory. Oh, my God. Ugh, feels so good. Why are these all... Did we go through these already? Yeah. This post has been debunked by Snopes. Let's see if that's true. Snopes. Candace Owens challenges fact checker. Okay, that person might have been just making a joke. I'm not seeing anything. Cool. That ends the politics section of this stream. name is Larkin. Please subscribe to my channel, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I need your subs and I need your support so I can grow my shit bigger. Please, oh please, I don't need donations, just need your follows and adorations. Please, 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 like, subscribe, and follow.